Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Hope you're doing well. Back in 2003, a very special game came out that some of you might remember. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Originally for PC and PS2, it was also ported to Xbox and GameCube later down the line. So pretty much everyone who liked Lord of the Rings got a chance to play it. And also Game Boy, but we don't talk about that one. I said we don't talk about that one! This game kicked ass. When I was younger, I treated it like a button masher, but it turns out it actually has combos, a skill system, and a whole bunch of other stuff I never appreciated. I mean, look at this. Those are full-on scenes from the movie jammed onto a GameCube disc. Well, it would be, but I had to mess with the footage so that I don't get annihilated by Tolkien's estate. Just trust me, the real scenes are there. There's a whole bunch to appreciate about this game, so I thought it'd be fun to go back and reminisce. Oh, and we're gonna challenge run the game, because why not? So today, we're gonna find out. Can you beat Lord of the Rings: Return of the King without melee attacks? But before we can get to the Return of the King, we actually have to finish the tutorial, which takes place at the tail end of the Battle of Helm's Deep. And the game wants me to use a light attack. Strong start. For obvious reasons, meleeing down this Urukai isn't on the menu today, but it's not all bad news. First off, because this is a tutorial, the game prevents you from dying, so at least we can't game over. And second, we can completely ignore the tutorial and just start blasting enemies with our staff. Excellent. After that, the game teaches us how to parry, which is actually so broken in this game that you can just jam on the B button and never take damage. And you can also make Sir Ian McKellen dance. But after a short while, we could just magic blast the remaining two enemies out of the way, and from there, Legolas informs us that he needs help up on the wall. Now, at this point, the game wants me to use fierce attacks to break enemy shields, which brings us to a new problem. My ranged attacks can't get through shields. If an enemy is distracted by another NPC, I can shoot them in the back. Oh hey, level up. But a frontal assault yields no bones. Definitely a problem, but we'll store that one away for later. Because why bother with the tutorial when you can just sprint past it and up this conveniently placed ladder? Hey Phil, how's the kids? Still in school? Yeah, those tuition prices are killer, man. Alright, take it easy now. Up on the wall, we can find a ranged weapon pickup, which refills your ranged attacks by 20. These things are going to be the lifeblood of the run, so get used to keeping your eyes peeled for them, as they can be a little tricky to see in the middle of battle. I blast down all the crossbow Uruks with ease, then get told by Aragorn that we've got a new problem. Uruks with explosives on the ramp. Non-canonical and doesn't exactly make a whole lot of sense military strategy-wise, but sure, why not? Down the grappling hook with dexterity that puts even Legolas to shame, then over to a conveniently placed ballista, where we can finish the level by exploring the explosive cart before it can reach its destination. Firebomb Academy sends its regards. And after being transitioned into another unskippable movie cutscene, we get to the fun stuff. Every enemy you kill will give you experience. Throughout the fight, you might have noticed a skill meter rising and falling in the bottom left-hand corner. The long and short of it is this: do combos and kill enemies, bar goes up. Go too long without killing anything, or get hit, bar goes down. The higher the bar, the more XP you get per kill. Don't get too excited about that though, because ranged attacks force you to go slower than the game actually wants you to go, and there's no ranged attack combos of any kind. So we're gonna be seeing mostly finds and goods throughout the run. When you level up, you unlock new skills that can be purchased with your XP points. You've got parry and riposte insta-kills, magic fog attacks, health increases, the whole 9 yards. Most of these skills are completely useless to us, so we'll be drowning in points for most of the run, even if we can only get fine and good kills. So no worries there. But only getting fine and good kills does cause a very big problem. One that I'll get to in a second. For now, let's just bask in the glory that is the level map. I can almost taste the nostalgia. When you beat a level, all levels attached to it will unlock, which brings us to the 3 level trees. On the left, we've got the Path of the Wizard, in the middle, the Path of the King, and on the right, the Path of the Hobbits. Because we've already gotten him to level 2, we might as well keep going as Gandalf. Aw yeah, look at those polygons. The road to Isengard. On our way to help the Ents with Saruman. This level isn't very difficult, which is great because I'm still getting used to the controls and the flow of combat. I'm also learning important lessons, like ranged enemies only take 1 shot to kill, or that exploding barrels immediately next to you is a bad idea. They work great when they're far away though. Probably the only way we're ever going to get anything better than fine XP. We also learned the important lesson of killing enemies well before they reach me, because enemies tend to attack one at a time, which would be great if we were using melee, but is actually terrible for ranged only since it means there's hardly any gaps in the enemy's attacks. This can be mitigated a bit if you shoot the enemy that's priming up their attack, but the lock-on system is a bit unreliable. But enough about scale issues, let's get back to the level itself. The first stumbling block we have is the end section, where we have to kill 80 enemies in order to progress. Sounds impossible, considering we only have 11 shots left. But as luck would have it, the Ents hate the enemies too, and are more than happy to smash them to bits for me. Maybe a little too happy, actually. In hopes of getting more shots, I decided to kill a couple Uruks myself, which taught me a valuable lesson. The game hates you. But in the end, the Ents were more than capable of killing the remaining 30 enemies themselves, and we can continue forward in the level. Unfortunately, the game refused to give me more arrows, and the little bit of testing I did with letting the enemies hurt one another didn't yield any fruit either, since it appears they can't actually kill one another. At least, not this particular pairing. He just staggers, even after 10 arrows. But the age-old solution of run away turns out to be more than enough to get past this area, and with a little sprinting, we reach a checkpoint. Which means we can now die comfortably to the enemies up ahead, and respawn at the checkpoint with a full complement of shots. The next area just has me shooting down some watchtowers, which we are more than capable of doing, and the final zone of the level has me protecting an Ent from orc archers while it attempts to release the river, a task that shouldn't be too hard once I remove this boss enemy. Thank God the game decided to give me some extra shots. That could have been a bad time. Whoever designed this level understood the assignment, because enemies tend to drop ammunition when they die, making this last segment more than possible for me. The game did throw a shield enemy at me that I couldn't deal with, but I just played keep away and just treated it like a health tax. And after a few harrowing minutes, the Ent is able to pull the dam apart and drown the remaining enemies with the wrath of nature itself. Level complete and level gained. Good news all around. At level 3, we gain two very important skills: Wizard's Power and the Light of the Pilgrim. Light of the Pilgrim is just a damage upgrade to our ranged attacks, so that's an automatic yes. But Wizard's Power is something I'm much less familiar with. Every character has a special ability, which can be activated once every 2 minutes or so with the shoulder buttons. I never knew that existed when I was younger, which means I don't know what it does. And since I only have a few thousand points at the moment, I'm a bit too nervous to buy it to find out. Turns out it's actually completely broken and is insanely useful in this run, but Past Lemon didn't know that, and was very protective of his points. Besides, now that we know the road to Isengard is doable, we can just play it again and grind XP. Except we can't. Yep, apparently, you can't replay levels until you've beaten the entire game, which means if you don't do well enough in a level to level up, too bad. Hope you like your level 3 wizard, because that's all you get. Which is a real problem for me, because this next level is famous for its design, but infamous for its difficulty. Minas Tirith, the top of the wall. Eru, give me strength. Whew, boy, this level. This level is burned into Young Lemon's brain with such clarity that I could have drawn it out for you in higher detail than the game allows. This entire level takes place on top of this wall. No checkpoints, no running around, just good old-fashioned waves of enemies trying to overrun your base of operations. Killing Uruks is helpful at reducing the meter, but your best bet is to kick down the ladders, preventing even more enemies from swarming onto the wall. That upgrade we got is doing work though, because the Urukai now only take 2 shots to kill. I guess our ranged attacks have some undisclosed damage over time effect that I wasn't aware of, because they don't go down right away, but hey, every shot I don't need to take is good news. Considering we have a multitude of AI companions helping thin the ranks, I opted to focus on knocking down the ladders around the map instead, because while I'm the best warrior we have, I'm also very limited by my ammunition, and the game has suddenly decided that I'm not worthy and refuses to drop more. Until it does. I wish I could give more detail about how the game chooses to drop items for you, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's just random. Which is terrible news for me, because that means at any point in any level, I could simply not get the ammunition I need to keep going and have to reset the entire level in hopes of better RNG. But so far so good. And after a few minutes of successfully defending the wall, the game ups the difficulty, adding siege towers to the mix. Lucky for us, our wall has a catapult, which we can use to take them down. Ooh, guaranteed ammunition pickup. That might be important later. Each tower takes 2 catapult shots to destroy, so going up to the catapult to deal with them is a bit of a gamble. Do you spend a few precious seconds getting up to the catapult and attacking the siege towers? Or do you focus on the ever-increasing ladders popping up all over your walls? This exercise in stress management ramps up even more when you realize that the siege towers appearing on the eastern wall can't be shot by the catapult. You'll have to fight your way over to them, then take it out yourself. A task that requires roughly 13 shots to do. Oh, and you'll be attacked by enemies while you're doing it, just in case you thought it would be easy. But don't rest just yet, because you've got another batch of siege towers heading your way. And Urukai. And ladders. And if the game suddenly decides you don't deserve ammunition, well, hope you like starting the entire level over. And don't get cute and think you can rely on the catapult for extra help, because a Nazgul shows up and starts eating your men, which means you're gonna have to wait even longer to fire the damn thing while another man spawns to refill the last guy that got eaten. I'm not stressed, you're stressed. But then, the moment that turns the tides. In my desperation, I decided to try out Gandalf's unique power, which just so happens to be a magic shield. A magic shield that injures enemies you bump into, with each bump counting as an attack and therefore filling up your skill bar to perfect almost instantly. Which is super important, because being in perfect mode not only increases your XP, but it also increases your damage. And I'm not sure of the exact math, but all I know is that a couple rogue shots at the last siege tower later, and we've officially gotten past the final wave of enemies. Naturally, the level isn't over yet, as the enemy has broken out Grond and is battering down the main gate. But this part of the level is basically just cinematic, as there's no more enemies to fight, and we just need to make our way down to the gate, which sets us up for the next level we'll be tackling, the Minas Tirith Courtyard. But first, how about another level up? Let me just grab that wizard power upgrade really quick. There we are. And you know what? I've learned not to disregard any of the wizard powers at this point, so let's grab Fog of War and its upgraded version, Wrath of Anor, as well. And some extra health. Eru knows we need it. Ah, right. This level. I remember you. Hope you like protection missions, because that's what we're doing for the next few minutes. Our job this go around is to get 200 civilians across the threshold while we fend off waves of enemies, which gets more and more difficult as time goes on. So the longer we take to get everyone through, the harder this level is going to get. There's also the immediate problem of shield enemies, which are back in force. And while I have a few allies that can help me line up some shots to the back, those allies can die, so the less they get targeted, the better. And don't forget that the game hates you, because every so often, it just won't get ammunition, and you'll have to start over. So that's fun, unless you happen to upgrade your magic shield. In which case, fuck you, I win! Hope you're wearing your brown pants, because Gandalf the White is here. Oh hey look, some ammo. Nice. In all honesty, this level isn't too bad. It's a lot of running around, picking your battles, and praying that the number in the top right corner goes a bit faster. Because once the waves start including boss enemies, things get real hairy real quick. And no, there's no checkpoints, so you have to start over every single time you die. Come on, game, you gotta give me something to work with. I'm dying over here. A health drop? Well, come on, that's not what I meant. In times of true desperation, there are 2 sets of javelins that you can throw at enemies for some massive damage. But their respawn rate is slow at best, if they respawn at all. And unless you've got no other option, you're gonna wanna save those for the later waves of enemies. Oh good, they brought a cave troll. Kinda wish we had those javelins right about now, huh? Hey, watch where you're throwing that. Okay, only 42 more civilians to go. We got this. We got this. Oh my god, that's a lot of health bars. But all is not lost. If my eyes aren't playing tricks on me, the incoming boulders exploding all over the place are actually damaging the enemies, not just killing my civilians, which means we have a way to hurt them without firing off a shot. Now all we need to do is lure the trolls into the line of fire and... You know, there's probably a better way to do this. A few well-timed magic shields and taking full advantage of the catapult damage later, and we're back at the trolls. But this time, I've got a little extra oomph to dish out, which works great. For one troll. But that's why I saved these javelins. Time to die, you monster. No, that's fine, I didn't need that anyway. But thankfully, against all odds, the lock-on system decides that the trolls are the most dangerous targets, and the remaining javelins fly true. Now we just need the remaining 35-ish civilians to lock in and get to safety. Oh hell no, you get the hell out of here! At this point, we're in full desperation mode. I have no ammo, I have 2 friendly archers remaining, and I can't waste javelins on the remaining enemies because the game keeps spawning more trolls. There's a slight possibility of civilians sneaking past the Uruk-hai, but if those cave trolls get up here, there's 0 chance that any of them will make it. The only hope we have left is that my frantic dancing will be enough to keep the enemies entertained, while the counter slowly gets closer to victory. Lady, I could barely defend myself. You're on your own. But after 20 minutes of panic and confusion, we've done it. 200 civilians across the border. And after sounding the official retreat, we've officially finished Gandalf's campaign, and are 1/3 closer to beating the game. Outstanding. Ooh, a ranged attack upgrade. Don't mind if I do. And you know what? Let's get a health upgrade too while we're at it. Why not? But with Gandalf done, it's time for the next set of levels, the Path of the King. And unlike the last campaign, we've got 3 characters to choose from. But let's be honest, there's only one correct choice. Our first challenge is the Path of the Dead, where we need to recruit the undead army. Home to everyone's second favorite Deus Ex Machina, this level doesn't offer a whole lot of challenge for our run. So while I push through the level, let's talk about how the Path of the King plays overall. We'll be following Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, which means we'll always have 2 allies backing us up in each level. Aragorn is the jack-of-all-trades character, Gimli focuses on melee damage, and Legolas is best suited for ranged combat, hence why we've chosen him. As of right now, it takes 2 arrows to kill a basic enemy, but wait a minute. Wait a minute, you can charge your shots? God's teeth, why wasn't that explained in the tutorial? Do you know how much easier that would have made Gandalf's campaign? I mean, look at this. I don't know the exact math, but it looks like charging your ranged shots doubles the damage they do. So many bolts wasted. Oh, and a charged shot can break an enemy's shield. Because of course it can. Ooh, that makes me so mad! But with this game-breaking knowledge unlocked, something tells me the rest of this game is going to go a lot smoother. With Aragorn and Gimli acting as meat shields, I'm able to take out all the enemies in my path, including mini-bosses, which now go down in 3 arrows. Much better than what we were working with before. The only difficult part of this level was the long bridge, where the enemies block you in, and you're forced to kill 35 enemies that spawn on both sides. Actually hard? No. But annoying? Yes. It got a little tricky when the shielded enemies started spawning in, but with our arrows now able to break shields, it's only a matter of time before we reach the limit and escape to the next level. And would you look at that? Not 1, but 2 levels. Unfortunately, Legolas' special ability is much less useful than Gandalf's. While the shoulder buttons are pressed, Legolas does more damage and can get to perfect mode quicker. Great if you're going ham and swinging your dual swords into every orc you see, but not as effective when it comes to ranged attacks. But I've learned not to take any skill for granted at this point, and with as many points as we have, there's no reason to be stingy. And with our arrow upgrade, health increase, and special skill unlocked, it's time for level 2, the King of the Dead. Not much to see here. The king can be hurt with arrows, and is easily fended off, and although he summons multiple waves of enemies throughout the fight, the AI is pretty terrible, and won't engage with you unless you get into their aggro range, which we don't need to do. But then we get to phase 2, where the king takes it up a notch.
Wind of the mountain, I command you.
Wow, very impressive. I think you messed my hair up a bit. The fight got a little hectic towards the end due to the shield enemies popping up and my parry timing being less than perfect, but the fight constantly respawns ammunition in the back left corner. So as long as you're able to parry the king's attacks and wait for his delayed slash, you can sneak in an arrow or 2 before he goes on a swinging spree again. And after a few minutes of constant firing, we've done it. The King of the Dead, dead again. But now for the actually hard part of the level. We now have to escape the cave, which is slowly falling down behind us. The camera angles aren't doing us any favors either. Turns out the level geometry was the real boss all along. And then, the hardest part of the level. In an effort to slow you down, enemies block off your path and force you to kill them before you can move forward. And because the level is collapsing behind you, you only have a short amount of time to kill all the enemies before you're insta-killed by the ceiling falling on your head. Oh, and Aragorn and Gimli decided that now was a great time to disappear. So you don't have meat shields either. Eventually, I realized that running back into the level and across this small bridge would funnel the ghosts into a smaller space, essentially funneling them into my crosshairs and keeping them from fully surrounding me. There was a second blockade further into the level, which consisted of multiple shield enemies, a mini-boss, and nowhere to run. But after activating my special ability, the little boost in damage that my arrows received was just enough to kill some enemies and create gaps in the wave, allowing me to pass through with minimal struggle. Which brings us to the last blockade. Waves of enemies, multiple mini-bosses, and every type of ghost we've seen up to this point. But hey, at least Gimli and Aragorn decide to show back up. It got a little hectic for a minute there, and I had to reset once or twice, but eventually I found a comfortable little corner to hide in and was able to pick off all the enemies one by one. At least I was, until the game spawned 3 mini-bosses at once, which would have been fine, but the game also decided that I wasn't worthy of having arrows anymore, which, slight problem. And because Aragorn and Gimli aren't pulling their weight, the ceiling felt obligated to chip in. I mean, you can't say it didn't work. But a few sacrifices to RNGesus later, and I was able to clear the mini-boss wave with a few seconds and arrows to spare, which means that's another level complete. Time for level 3, the Southern Gate. Contrary to the last one, this level is a single scene long. Complete the multiple missions around the gate, and we're home free. All we need to do is fight our way through an ambush, launch a catapult or 2, and unlock the gate. Simple, right? Well, yes, actually. In fact, the hardest part of this level is deciding when to leave. The enemies around you will spawn for literally forever, which means you can get unlimited experience. Granted, you're getting it in 75 and 150 XP bursts, but so long as the game deems you worthy of an arrow spawn, you can just keep going. And going, and going. Eventually, I decided that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, and opted to push forward. Launch catapult, and once more with feeling. And there we go. A tower collapsed, and a new way up to the top of the gate opened. Now we just need to climb the ladder and get past the few Uruks up here, and we can, Hey game, can I have my lock-on back? Hello? No, it's fine. It's not like I needed that to live or anything. This is fine. And would you look at that? No checkpoints. Fantastic. Really glad I wasted my time farming that XP. Well, I won't make that mistake again. I'm not even gonna bother killing any enemies. Let's just skip right to the second mission. I was able to just barely squeeze past the enemies at the top of the gate, which in turn let me take them out nice and easy. And with a few more choice shots to the face, the troll on top of the bridge bites the dust as well. But don't get too excited, because Dumbo's escaped from the local circus, and boy is he pissed. Phase 3, fighting Urukai and Elephant archers. Sprinting to the left helps create some breathing room, and if you time your shots carefully, you can break the pieces of the elephant's armor fast enough to then parry all of the arrows flying your way. Rinse and repeat until the elephant explodes. You know, as they do. After that, we just need to open the gate, which takes several pulls for some reason, and then there's just a single phase left to go, the last wave of Urukai. Boy, it'd be a real shame if someone poured boiling hot oil all over your phalanx formation. Thank God there's no immediately respawning vats of oil or anything on top of this gate. Oh wait! And with no one left to guard the gate, that's another level down, and one more to go. But first things first, we gotta level up. And with Lothlorien arrows added to my quiver, it's time for the Battle of Pelennor Fields. Another set piece level, we'll have multiple missions here as well. Our first mission is to slay 60 enemies. A simple task, considering the high density currently duking it out in front of us. Just hide in a corner and fire at will. And Frank, and Steve, and Colin. And alternatively, you can head up this side of the ravine here, make your way past the ballistas, which I definitely didn't fire without thinking, and make your way to the very end where a respawning ammunition sits in wait, and you can just fire arrows randomly into the crowd below until the counter hits 60. After that, Mary and Eowyn arrive on the scene, and just so happen to be on the wrong end of an incoming elephant. Normally, you're expected to use the ballistas to take the elephant down, but with as many respawning arrows as there are throughout this entire map, we might as well just take care of it ourselves. And with only 4 shots, that's one behemoth down, and another one to go. Down into the ravine, squeeze past all the enemies in the middle, back up the side, rinse and repeat. But Mary and Eowyn aren't out of the woods just yet, because now the Witch King is here, and it's our job to shoot him down so that Eowyn can finish the job. Back down into the ravine, dodge past the enemies in the middle again, then shoot at the Nazgul until he decides he's had enough and fucks off for a bit. Oh good, another elephant. Back through the middle, back up the side, realize that you've goofed up and gone up the wrong side of the ravine, back down into the ravine, almost get stepped down because you're taking too long, back up the correct side and blow up the beastie. Oh come on! Back into the ravine, dodge all the enemies, shoot off an arrow, finally kill the Nazgul. Jesus wept, I'm getting tired just thinking about all the running around I just did. To be fair, I think I could have shot the Witch King from the ends of the ravine rather than going into the center both times, but it's still a lot of going to and fro trying to keep everyone alive. But hey, at least we get to watch this cool fight scene. Eowyn doesn't even break her arm this time. God, I hope we get to play as her in the remaster. And that there's a remaster. In any case, ghosts arrive in the nick of time and make a bunch of the elephants explode. And that's the end of the level, which means we've technically reached the end of the Path of the King. But with both the Path of the Wizard and the Path of the King complete, we've actually unlocked a new level, the Black Gate, where both Aragorn and Gandalf finally reconvene. But now the impossible choice. Do we play as a level 6 Legolas, or a level 5 Gandalf? I honestly have no idea which is better. So for the time being, let's go with the actually range-focused character. And so, the final battle for Middle-earth begins. The Mouth of Sauron comes out of the Black Gate, throws the mithril gauntlet down, and challenges us to a duel. There's just one small problem. He can't get hurt by arrows. I'm getting the shots off, and the Mouth's health bar is flashing, but no dice. This is a bit of a problem, but I think I have the solution. Ah, you were by my side the whole time. My guiding moonlight. So anyway, here's Wonderwall. Now here's the thing. We can only cast Magic Shield every 2 minutes, which means we've got 2 minutes of running away to do. And this is a bit of a problem because the Mouth has an unblockable attack that will slowly chip our health to 0. But if we get up close and personal and never try to run away, we can intimidate the Mouth of Sauron with our incredible moves and force his AI to never use his unblockable attack. Hope you like pressing the parry button, because that's all you're going to be doing for the next 2 minutes. And when our 2 minutes are up, all we have to do is run away, cast Magic Shield, and let God take the wheel. And just like that, that's another boss down. Oh, come on! Well, there goes another 2 minutes of my life that I'll never get back. But with a single hit from our Magic Shield, that's the Mouth of Sauron dead, the Black Gate opened, and the true battle of this level begun. Get ready, boys and girls. Things are about to get wild. Our first goal is to kill 6 mini-bosses, a seemingly simple task. Unfortunately, we don't just have to kill 6 mini-bosses, but we have to play babysitter as well, because the other 3 main characters are terrible at their jobs, and will start to die if we don't help get the enemies off their back every so often. The mini-bosses themselves are thankfully no problem, and only take 3 charged shots to wipe off the map when they grace it with their presence. But God help me, these allies of mine. I swear, giving my little brother an unplugged controller would have given me better results. Thankfully, if you stand next to an ally, they slowly regenerate health, so you don't have to play perfectly. But it's definitely a balancing act. A balancing act that also requires you to frantically conserve your ammo. And if you thought that was bad, that was just the teaser. At the halfway point, the enemy fully surrounds you, coming at you from left, right, and center. Hope you've appeased RNGesus, because God help you if you run out of ammo. Mini-bosses everywhere you look, entire hordes of archers who are more than happy to plink your allies to death, and even a few enemies that hide outside of the arena. It's a hectic mess, and from what I recall, this level was hard when I was playing it normally. We're in for a wild night. After that first failure, I changed tactics. Focus on the mini-bosses above all else, and bear hug any ally that even thinks about dipping into yellow health. And with an abundance of luck in the RNG department and an obsessive clinginess to my allies, I somehow managed to get all 6 mini-boss kills with my allies' health still in the green. Just in time for the Nazgul to enter the fight. No eagles to save us this time, it's do or die. Time to pull out the big guns. That did a lot less damage than I hoped it would. Well, if javelins can't get the job done, then perhaps magic fire will. Oh yeah, that's better, much better, let's go. I am the servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. The dark fire will not avail you, shades of Udun! Go back to the shadow! And with the last of the wraiths turned, we've done all we can. It's all up to Frodo now. Hey, wait a minute, where is Frodo? Well, as it turns out, we've got one more tree to go. The Path of the Hobbits. And we've only got one choice of character. Good old Samwise Gamgee, full-time gardener and protector of the Ringbearer. Well known for his ranged abilities. This is gonna be bad, isn't it? Well, no better way to find out than to just do. Path of the Hobbits, first level. Escape from Osgiliath. The Hobbit levels in this game are usually centered around stealth and puzzle solving, a sharp contrast to the rest of the game. And while Sam can certainly hold his own when used correctly and actually fighting with melee weapons, it's a far cry from the other characters and their abilities. But we don't care about that. We care about Sam's other skills, aka his ranged attacks and special move. Oh, and also avoiding getting seen by this Nazgul. Well, in regards to Sam's ranged attacks, it takes 4 throwing knives to kill a basic orc. For comparison, these take 2 hits with an unupgraded normal character, 1 if you charge your attack. But don't worry, Sam can charge his attacks too. It just takes a full 3 seconds to do it. I'm not exaggerating, 3 seconds from start to finish. That may sound like nothing, but in a game where enemies are rushing at you and you need to respond in less than a second to counter them, that 3 seconds is unbearable. Nothing to really talk about as far as the level is concerned though. We run past all the enemies, enjoy the surrounding scenery as we climb the Snake Eater ladder, then use our smarts instead of our brawn to clear paths to the end of the level. The very end has us escaping via a sewer system, but so long as we stay out of the enemy's aggro range and take our time with our attacks, it's no issue. There was a mini-boss at the end of the tunnel, which would normally take several charged shots to even knock his armor off before I could do damage, but I opted for the fuck it, brute force is best force approach, and just tanked all of his hits while I opened the final gate. And with the gate open, we're home free. Easy game for babies. But don't get too excited, because the first damage increase to our throwing knives isn't available until level 5, and our special ability is just an Elven cloak, which turns us invisible for a short amount of time. Not exactly magic shield, is it? But no time to worry about that. It's time for Shelob's Lair. This level is a labyrinth, full of dead ends and multiple paths. Oh, and the basic spiders take upwards of 5 or 6 knives, just in case you were even considering doing any kind of combat. You can still kill them in a single charge attack, but that only works if they don't see you. They're too aggressive otherwise. No, the proper way to deal with all the spiders is to kill them with fire, because why use fancy throwing knives when the age-old solution still works? On top of this, the torches respawn incredibly quickly, due to the fact that you're supposed to be using them for puzzle solving, not violence. To which I say, why not both? Personally, violent puzzle solving just sounds like more fun, and you sure as hell can't deny the results. That's more kills than I got all last level. Oh hey look, it's Shelob, and just as terrifying, it's Polygonal Sam. Poor Sam got done dirty there. Not as badly as Gimli in the Two Towers game though. Holy shit. Anyway, a bit more violent puzzle solving later, and we finally escape the caves to find Shelob spraying Mr. Frodo with a face full of pixels. No, I will not elaborate on that. And this brings us to the boss fight of the level, Shelob herself. And it's right about here where we have a serious problem. Shelob is extremely aggressive, to the point where you can barely get off a single uncharged dagger throw in between her onslaughts. And while using your special ability will give you a much needed breather, there's no way to attack while cloaked, so you can't charge up an attack, just run away. Which doesn't do you much good because Shelob is so aggressive that she'll instantly corner you again, leaving no room for a charged attack. So how much damage does an uncharged throwing dagger do? Well, the math is a little wonky, but yeah, no, it does 0 damage. In fact, a fully charged throwing dagger does 0 damage as well. Turns out, Shelob is the ultimate evil, a gimmick boss, which means we have no way of killing her, and therefore, no way of beating the game. We failed. Not since the lightless passages of Moria have I known such darkness, and if possible, here it is deeper and denser. There were airs moving, and echoes, and a sense of space. Here the air is still, stagnant, heavy, and sound falls dead. I walk in a black vapor wrought of veritable darkness itself. That, as it is breathed, brings blindness not only to the eyes, but to the mind. So even the memory of colors and of forms and of any light fades out of thought. Night always has been, always will be, and night is all. Oh hey look, we defeated Shelob. Turns out I just had to recite my favorite passage of the Lord of the Rings at her. Don't know why that wasn't in the strategy guide. Someone should really fix that. But in all seriousness, if you're a challenge run purist, this is where the run ends. As far as I know, there's no way to get past Shelob, so the official tally is that you can beat all but 3 of the levels without melee attacks. But if you're like me and hate getting shut down so close to the end of a run, I'm willing to find out how much farther we could have gotten if you are. Which brings us to the second to last level, Cirith Ungol. This level is a true nightmare scenario, because not only does this level require 80 kills to progress to the end, but it features a lot of narrow hallways and choke points, which make it really hard to maneuver or run past enemies. Thankfully, there's plenty of traps and throwable objects around the map, so we don't have to rely solely on our ranged attacks, and so long as we're quick on our feet, we can actually increase our kill count pretty rapidly. I suppose one could also use the Hobbit special ability and turn invisible, but why stealth when you can just chandelier and get approximately 20 kills in one fell swoop? Easy choice, I'd say. And after a few more Hobbit shenanigans, I was able to get my kill count all the way up to 80, getting the last few kills with a firebomb. Just feels right, you know? And with the final rabble running into the nearby tower for safety, we've got 2 final missions left to complete. The first is to use this ballista to kill all the orcs blocking the tower, which is a little tricky due to this mini-boss, but can be done if you just tank a hit. And with that mission easily completed, we've just got to climb the tower itself, kill the enemies, and save Mr. Frodo. Oh damn, well that's one enemy taken care of. One more to go. So slight problem, this boss here has a shield, and is very aggressive, which means no charge shots for us. But unlike the last boss fight, this fight's gimmick actually works in our favor, because there's infinitely respawning javelins on both sides of the arena. You have to throw one javelin to break his shield, and another to stun him. But then the problem. He doesn't stay stunned long enough for me to get a charged attack off. Solution? Break his shield, wait for at least 2 javelins to respawn, then go for the stun and follow it up immediately with another jav. Repeat ad nauseum. And there you go. But with Mr. Frodo saved and Sting deciding it's a flying magic sword for some reason, we've got one more level to go. Oh wait, look, level 5. That unlocks poison daggers, which allegedly cause damage over time when they hit an enemy. Sounds cool. Shame we'll never get to use them, because we've unlocked the final level, the Crack of Doom, which only allows you to play as Frodo. Good, no really, super happy about that. Well, you know the story. Frodo gets to mount Doom's inner sanctum, finally loses his battle with the ring, then loses his battle to Gollum, who immediately bites off his finger and steals the ring, which brings us to the final boss fight of the entire game. And wouldn't you know it, it's another gimmick fight, where throwing daggers do nothing, which means yet another level where we can't beat the game without using melee attacks. But all hope isn't lost just yet, because if you lure Gollum over to the edge and just constantly parry him, eventually Sam will attack him for you. Then you just give him a quick shove and... oh, forgot about that part. Turns out you need to do the final blow attack in order to knock Gollum into the lava. And no, throwing daggers don't work. I tried. Well that sucks, but what can you do? 10 out of 12 levels complete isn't bad. And after several minutes of shoving Gollum off a cliff, Frodo finally realizes that violence is the answer and sends the ring to its fiery doom. And that's it. That's the end. What a great game. I'm so happy I got to... wait, what? The hell does that mean? Was there another game? Well, maybe. There was a game called The Lord of the Rings Trilogy released in 2004, but it was a Java game, and it looks like this. So that doesn't feel right. I don't know. Maybe they were advertising the release of the DVDs or something. I'm sure someone in the comments knows more than I do. But hey, after beating the game, we just unlocked a lot of content. We now have all the little stars along the level paths, which unlock things like concept art, interviews with several of the actors, including the late Christopher Lee, some film stills, and even some Hobbit badmouthing.
He says, I'm getting so good at this game. I says, okay, give us it. Beat him 3 times in a row.
Billy's getting better, but he's not great.
Billy is awful. One of the worst game players of all time. You'll be playing a 2-player game and you'll go, Billy, press X, and he'll be like, hang on a minute, wait, which one's X?
And if you haven't gotten enough of the game yet, you can also play 2 secret levels, the Palantir of Saruman and the Palantir of Sauron. Essentially just horde mode, each Palantir has you survive 20 rounds of enemies. Completing the game unlocks Saruman's Palantir, and getting one character from each of the 3 paths to level 10 will unlock Sauron's Palantir. By the way, did you know that Gandalf can force choke people? Don't question it, that's canon now. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong. You can also replay all the other levels again, and this time as whichever character you choose, up to and including the reskin characters, Faramir, Merry, and Pippin. Because what if Faramir went to the Council of Elrond instead of Boromir? Would things be different? Who knows? But now your fanfiction can come to life, so have at it. But in any case, that's it. A fun blast from the past that has way more content than it has any right to. If you haven't played it before and are a fan of the Lord of the Rings, you definitely owe yourself a playthrough. It's a hoot. As for me, that's all I've got. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.